Hey guys, Andrew here, back at it with another episode. And at this episode, I have a special guest. His name is Sab Mirzaei. And I really am excited for this episode because I haven't talked to this guy in a while, and we knew each other back in high school. And I'm really excited to see what he's been doing so far with his life. Based on what I've seen online, seems like he's doing a lot of cool and exciting stuff. So I hope you guys learned something new from this episode. I know I'm going to learn a lot of new things from him. And here we go. Episode 9 with special guest Sab Mirzaei. Let's get started. I'm here with Sab right now. Sab, how's it going?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I know it's been a long while since we talked, and I was just wondering, first off, how you been and what have you been up to so far?
Sure, absolutely, man. Yeah, it's been way too long. I actually this last month I started a new position at a new career shift. I work at a company called Globe Runner. We're a digital agency in Addison, Texas, and we do all things digital from website creation and development to social media strategy to search engine optimization on Google, Bing, those platforms. So if it requires anything digital, and we probably do it. So it's been a lot of fun, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Wow. How'd you go about getting that job?
Well, I knew about the company for a while. They're actually been featured in a bunch of publications like Adweek, and I'd heard of them. They've been around since '08, so
Okay.
a pretty preeminent business in this metroplex, and work with lots of companies. So I'd heard about them, and they were looking to grow their team. And I mean, as they always say, the best things happen when you least expect them. So I'm there.
That's pretty awesome. What is your dream career though to do? Is that it right there, or is there something else you want to do?
Sure. At the risk of sounding really cheesy to start this podcast off, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think it is. I think
Really?
that
Okay.
I've always wanted to work in online media, in some capacity, shape, or form, and to have the opportunity, man, I just can't say how blessed I am to get to do that for a living. It's pretty cool.
Nice. I know it's been. Do you remember when we last talked to each other? I know it was in high school, right? What?
Yeah,
So when was that? I don't remember when I was in high school. I don't know what year that was. Was that like 2011 or?
roughly around 2011, man. It's been way too long.
Yeah, for sure. What did you do after you graduated from high school? Did you end up going to college? Did you just go straight into the working environment? What did you do?
Sure. I went to school at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Uh,
Whoa.
s-
Okay.
yeah, studied accounting, and yeah, like a lot of people, the Dallas job market is incredible. So I gravitated my way back here, and I love it. It's actually been really helpful to work in a city that I'm fairly familiar with. So I definitely was a plus to work here.
Wow. That's crazy, man. So it seems like you're at a really good place right now. Is there anything else you're working on? And like, is there a future you are envisioning right now? And there's still a little bit of pieces missing here and there that you're currently working on. I know you were doing that. I don't know what to call it, but you were doing book recommendations where you did a short clip of an introduction to a book that you really enjoyed reading, and they primarily pertain to self-improvement, if I'm not mistaken, about just improving your life, right? Enhancing your life.
Right.
And are you still working on that? Did you want to do something with that? Or just tell me more about like side projects, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So that if you guys haven't read it, that YouTube channel I started, and I guess video blog series, if you want to call it that as well. I started it based on a recommendation at the end of this book called Crush It by New York Times bestselling author Gary Vaynerchuk. And essentially, the thesis of that book was no matter what it is you do, or no matter what it is you enjoy doing, I'm sorry, let me correct that. No matter what it is you enjoy doing, there's a way to make that, to share that with the world at large because of the internet. Back to kind of my current job, and so he's saying one of the greatest travesties is to enjoy something and be able to talk about something with passion and with zest and or just with any sense of fervor and to not let it out there. So he's saying whether you become the next Mark Zuckerberg, create like it really doesn't matter what you do with it. It's just the fact of doing it, because there is a really good chance one person can enjoy it, and if one person can enjoy it, two people, it's I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it was fascinating. So if you haven't read that, check that out. I did that as a passion project, as a side project. I had to take a break because of work. I'm not gonna lie, I've been busy, but maybe something I would like to continue at some point in the near future in a different form. But that was all me. That was just like I said, a passion project, a side project, a hobby, a fun project, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't intended to take off in a big way. I read this book, was so captivated, put it down and turned on the camera and just started doing a video blog, video podcast series.
Nice. Did you do it by yourself? Were you working with anyone with it, or?
One of my friends, Cole, he helped me with a little editing, but
Okay.
a big props to Cole. But other than that, no. I mean, like I said, it was very, very low, like low, I guess, cost, low production, but it taught me a lot, and I
Yeah,
recommend
for sure.
I recommend anyone, and this book also had it too, whether it's video through video blogs, whether it's audio through podcast, or whether it's written through blog. Those are the three main forms of expression of your craft or passion or hobby. So whether it's writing, talking, or creating video content, just do something. So I would highly recommend people, like I said, check that out.
Okay. All right. That's pretty cool. I'm a little bit more curious about your job now. How do you go about working on something that you need to do you know, on the digital side? Is it kind of like Google where you're assigned to certain like groups and then you guys work together and there's like team leaders within a group? Or is it more like you work individually? How does that business network their workers? That's what I'm really curious about right now.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So yeah, I mean, I can't say we're like Google because we're a small business. I
Right,
mean,
no, no.
would I love for us to one day be like Google? Yes, of
Hmm.
course. But yeah, so it's very much like that. There's departments, we represent clients in every industry you can think of, from dental. One of our great clients is in the dental field, to fashion. We have a really great local dress company here in Dallas that does dresses for high school, college, and obviously professional women. And so I mean, like from dentistry to fashion, I mean, like it really doesn't matter. So we represent clients of all sorts, but then in that, we have different teams. We have obviously the web development team, who are so smart. I love picking their brain. Some of the websites they make and the code that it requires to make it's like incredibly complex. We have the Google AdWords team, which optimizes your word searches. We have the content creation team, the social media strategist and specialists. We have account. We have me. I'm part of the client advisement team. So we help people kind of see where they need help the most and what we can do, and then finding the best way to utilize our time and our relationship together. We're busy, obviously. We understand you're busy, and so we just try to take a little bit of busyness outside of each other's lives, because I think There's so much to learn from one another, and we try to do that and just optimize the results of the people that we work with and for.
Okay, that's really awesome, man. I'm gonna transition though to video games to kind of mesh it and integrate it all together. So let's talk about your startup with video games. Did you ever play video games when you were growing up? And if you did, how have they affected your life so far?
Sure, yeah. So I think I like so if my memory serves me correct, I think I might have dabbled in some Nintendo Entertainment System, like barely some NES, but my first vivid recollection was I loved Super Nintendo Entertainment System, the SNES, and
There you
I
go.
loved Mortal Kombat. That was a big one when I was a kid. I liked God, what was the other big one? Was it? Oh, I guess Mario, right? Mario was on Super
Yeah,
Nintendo.
yeah, Mario was there.
Mario, Mortal Kombat, all sorts of fun games on Super Nintendo, and then obviously made my way N64, PS2, Xbox 360, and yeah, so around when I was probably like 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there, and then yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a great relaxation, and I've loved playing games growing up.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Did you have any siblings that played with you, or?
Yeah, yeah, my older brother and I, and we'd always try to
Mm,
school each other.
yeah,
It was it was a great little competition. I enjoyed it. So yeah, my brother and I would play all the time. I can't tell you how many times we'd quote unquote go to sleep and then really and then really just get back up to make it to our bedtime, but then um just play games until we literally our eyes couldn't stay open.
right.
They were a huge part of my me and him.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was too. I have an older brother, so we used to play competitively all the time. We used to play Super Smash Bros. If you ever played that game.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Star Fox is my favorite character. I
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Star Fox. Yeah, yeah. He's pretty awesome. So I want to see whether or not this could be possible, but I feel like this is something that's really important in the future. So we have here, I feel like what you really value is education and enlightening people on new things about their lives. When you're doing these book recommendations, you're saying, hey, this is one way someone improved their life, and this is how you can translate it to yours. And I feel like you could do the same with video games, but we're not at that point yet. We're at that point where people are still thinking video games are just a way of just playing off to the side, but it's not a way of educating other people. So I was wondering, do you think there is a way to integrate having fun with educating people at the same time?
100%. I think in its essence, that's the only way it's ever going to catch on, and the only way you're going to have like a uh wide reach is making education fun, is making it engaging, is making it mainstream, for lack of a better word.
Hmm.
So you can actually probably educate me on this, but from what I've heard, there's a company called Twitch.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's the video platform streaming, right, for
Yes.
gamers,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so this is just so I'm not gonna lie, I haven't actually gone on it, but I have tons of friends and like my little cousins and all sorts of people. So I think what it would take is something like a Twitcher. I don't know if that's the proper
We should say
terminology, but like
Twitch streamer.
a Twitch streamer
Yeah.
to kind of break through the mold and find a way to like make his personality just as engaging as the content of the gameplay that he's playing while he's
Yeah,
talking,
for sure.
and then to throw in some awesome insights, and then some like, say if it's like a historical fiction game like an Assassin's Creed,
Yeah.
to throw in some facts about the Revolutionary War or like Victorian Rome or whatever era, and then I mean, it's going to take a lot of things, but absolutely, man. I heard Twitch is growing like wildfire from what I've heard through podcasts and friends and family. So like, it's going to take like an awesome personality of the gamer, an awesome game that has like context to, and then there's two ways. So either the content of the game will have to be like educational, like historical fiction, like Assassin's Creed, or the guy is so in tune to like computer programming and like video game programming that he can like drop some knowledge on the programming side of it. So there's two ways, either the content of the gameplay or the guy's knowledge and his way of explaining how video games are made and how it can be fun and cool to develop and design these games. So I think there's a couple ways. That's just off the top of my head. I think it would take his other channels, his YouTube, his Vimeo, his Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. Like, he would have to obviously be like a huge like personality on all those platforms, so they can all kind of come back to his YouTube and his Twitch as his main ways of letting people know just the value in video games.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. That's what I was hoping to do with these podcasts, is kind of instill a mindset of a video gamer, but still apply it to real life situations. Because I feel like a lot of people out there are not learning like proper lessons about life, and they resort to video games. And if we could somehow communicate in their language, then they'll be more interested in it. And then you could, show them there's this new way of living life, and we're just speaking in their language basically through video games. And go ahead.
I just said I like it. That's all I said.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Someone I really looked up to was Bill Nye the Science Guy, if you remember him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Bill Nye the Science Guy, I felt like he was educating people through science, but he was somehow entertaining us at the same time, right? We would be in elementary school, and when you see your teacher pulling up like that TV on that wheel stand, whatever it is, we all got super excited because she was going to put in like a VCR of Bill Nye the Science Guy, and we just got super excited because it was an alternative to just like boring presentations of a teacher just droning on and talking. Whereas Bill Nye the Science Guy, there's a lot of like flashy things going on, and he made it a lot more exciting. And what's awesome is Bill Nye actually presented to us at our university. I go to University of North Texas right now, and he came in April, and he just talked about his life, and everyone really enjoyed it. And I feel like there needs to be more people like that, where they enjoy doing something and they present their life perspective through the things that they enjoy. And if we have more people like that, I feel like the world would be better off. So
yeah, well said.
Yeah. What do you think about the way children are growing up with our education system? Do you think there's a problem with like the way people are interacting with each other, first of all, in the school environment, and the way teachers and schools are educating our children? Do you think there's a problem with in America, do you think there's a problem with like the way we assess them through testing? Do you think it's a problem with like homework? Do you think school hours are too long? What is your take on the school system right now?
Sure. Yeah, I'll never forget this, man. My first critique of the American, so that's the only school system I went to, of the American system, was when I was in 11th grade, and I was in an SAT prep class, and I was like super excited. I was like, heck yeah, I'm gonna ace this test, do great on this. And this is something that really kind of bothered me and disturbed me in a large way. I don't know if you remember, but on the multiple choice there was 5 questions instead of 4. And I remember one of the test taking strategies we learned wasn't like a date or a period of time in history. It wasn't like a mathematical formula. It was called the 3/5 rule. And in it, the SAT prep instructor taught us, like, you can immediately take out two of the five answers. So like, let's say A and E.
I think I remember this.
So you're left with B, C, and D. And
Yeah.
it's called the 3/5 principle, because if you took a few minutes, you can automatically increase your chance of getting the correct answer from, 1 out of 5, 20%, to 1 out of 3, 33.3%.
Right.
So they're like, yeah, you can increase your odds by 13.3%. But the reason that disturbed me so much is because at the time I didn't really get it, but I'm a little older now. And like, they didn't teach you. I mean, I know this sounds like a very harsh criticism, and I guess it is. They literally didn't teach you anything. They taught you nothing. If you think about it, if you think about that strategy, like, what it taught you is nothing. There, no content was taught. I paid money, I was a kid. My parents paid money. Let me rephrase that, to learn nothing. So I think that's my biggest criticism, is like the over reliance on standardized testing, on test taking strategies that teach you nothing but test taking strategies instead of content, instead of material. And then my last mini criticism is lack of following things that we're really interested in. I think that it's crazy that it takes you till college for you to like major and minor and stuff like that. I think, right. But for all that said, man, for all those criticisms, it sounds like I'm about to be really negative. I don't think it's ever been better. I have little cousins in different school districts in Dallas, and the Metroplex, and like, man, with like these STEM programs, science, technology, engineering, math, and then like the fine arts, like they're definitely going in the right direction. For sure. We can't change our childhoods and our educations, but man, there's some great shifts taking place. But since you asked me, I thought I'd answer. I think we got to stray away from like, making cookie cutter students that right. most likely don't like what they're studying, and allow them to follow those interests more.
I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree. I feel like for some reason we have the wrong mindset, and my mother kind of taught me this way, and I don't like it at all. It's when you believe you have to prep everything before actually doing something. And I feel like that's the wrong mentality to have. So let me elaborate on that. Let's say you want to bake cookies, right? If you want to bake cookies, you look at a general guideline, you look at the recipes, and you get the recipe, like the ingredients, and then you start off. And once you start off, you can make some errors, and that's okay. And over time, I feel like what you need to do is fail and then improve on those failures. And later on, maybe a year later, you'll make these awesome baked cookies. But I feel like the way school is now, and the way my mother taught me, was like, you need to know everything about baking cookies before doing it on your own. And I feel like that's the worst way to do it, is like, you don't need to know everything about cooking to start off. You just know a little bit. And then once you start off, you experience something. And I feel like that's why people value experience so much, is once you get your hands dirty and just work on something, then you can see how it works, how it doesn't work, right? And I feel like that's a lot better than just trying to take in a test and say, I know everything about life, now I can go live it. And I feel like that's the wrong approach to going about college, to going about life. So
I love that. That.
I'm pretty sure it's the same way in your workplace, right? I'm pretty sure you didn't know a lot of things at first, right? And then you just pick up things along the way, right? Was there anyone that helped you out with that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I can't thank my team enough. There's a reason that they've been, in business for 8 going on 9 years, in 2017.
Nice.
That same precision and care that they bring to each client, they brought to me when they brought me on board. It's like it's a very new world. I never worked in online media, as I said, but they did everything they could to prep me, and I love what you just said though about just doing stuff. I don't think you're ever going to be more ready than you are right now. You can obviously improve, but there's a difference between readying yourself and improving, and I think that's a huge distinction that we have to work on.
Yeah, for sure. You don't need a lot to start. You really don't. Let's translate to, let's see here, maybe the importance of mentors. I like that topic, and I feel like this is very, very important to talk about. Especially now, since the internet is so vast and can reach virtually anyone, in the world. I feel like there's a lot of information out there that people can grab onto, but it could be either miscellaneous information or misguided information. And I feel like it's really important to have some kind of mentor in your life that can help you direct you to the right direction of life. So I would first off ask, are there any books would you recommend to start off with that? And also talk about, do you have any mentors in your life?
Totally. Well, I guess just the top, since my list is extensive, but top three authors would be, as far as like lifestyle design, would be, I already said, Gary Vaynerchuk. So the book I referenced was Crush It, but the other two good ones from him I would recommend, it would be like Thank You Economy and Ask Gary Vee. That would be for like business and entrepreneurship. He loves those topics. Also, Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week.
I love him.
Yeah, he talks a lot about like the whole work smarter not harder thing, and just like don't make things more complicated than they are. Right. And then honestly, a really good one I just came across that's like kind of super empowering is Tony Robbins' Money Master the Game, and I just finished this recently. And this is cool because he combines both like self-belief and self-empowerment with financial like empowerment, and in this book he actually talks about, depending on like if you already have a stable income and like a stable family life, he helps find you ways to like where you either can kind of go on cruise control for the rest of your life, or like don't overexert yourself, not in like a lazy way, but in like a just be aware of the resources you have and how to best utilize them. So those three guys I'm like huge fans of. And then in real life mentors, it would be my grandparents. They helped raise me. My parents, they were great mentors. And then I've been lucky at work. Some of my colleagues are super people I aspire to be like a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
And just anyone that tries to, like you said, make a better future, I guess. I think it's ridiculous to say, but the older I get, that's kind of like really what I care about. It's like, what do you want to do to change stuff that you may not necessarily be around to see? So that's why my list started with my grandparents, because 3 of them aren't here, and then it trickled down to my parents because they're still here, and then it went to my friends and colleagues and people I admire because they're still here. But like, it's I think anyone that really and truly cares by their actions and not just their words.
Okay, all right. Now I gotta ask, do you have any mastermind groups or focus groups where you can talk to them maybe on a weekly basis or even a bi-weekly basis and see what are you doing with your life and how you can improve on it as well, besides mentors?
Me personally, no, but I think that I have in the past. There was and I still drop in every now and then. If you guys haven't gotten to yet, go to meetup.com. I was in like when I was kind of suffering from poor health, I joined like a health and wellness meetup. So that's not necessarily a mastermind group because we were all in it together, but man, there's some great options to find people with like-minded interests. Most of them are free. Just go to www.meetup.com. And I chose that, but man, there's everything from like, people that like to walk to people that like to rock climb to everything. So, I don't go as much as I used to, but, I have, and I think there's great value to like to mastermind, meetup groups, accountability partners. You can call them a million things, but I think it's beautiful when people hold each other to a high standard and try to get those results together.
Yeah, for sure. Man, this is I'm taking a lot from this, and I'm trying to see, I want to pick your brain more now, just about random topics now, about just life in general and how you go about like living your life. And I feel like there's a lot of important things to talk about. So I'm just gonna go like off the bat and just see what we can prioritize here. I think the first thing I want to talk about here, based off everything we're talking about, is decision making. And I feel like decision making is super important because it allows you to take control of your life. And I feel like you are in a spot right now where you're where you want to be, right? It's not really someone forcing you to be in a certain place. And I feel like that's what I see a lot in college right now, is that there's a lot of people that feel like they're stuck, in college and they have to be there, and they resort to like playing video games or something like that as like a releaser, a stress releaser. And I feel like that's not a life that's necessary, where if you're doing something that you feel like you're in control, then you could, be more free and just feel like you're doing like you're saying, like Tony Robbins was saying, like you're on cruise control, right? So what would you recommend to people about in terms of like getting more control in your life, and in terms of just making decisions about like what's best for them to do?
Sure, sure. Well, everyone's life's different, but one of my favorite, I guess, sayings I've ever heard, I love this, is life is choices. So, you whether you feel like you're in a rut or you're in some kind of like perpetual like I gotta go to this class at 8 and then this one at 12 and this at 2, let's play some video games to cool off. Whatever you feel, always remember that is your choice. Like, so that being said, make your choices empower you instead of like pain you. Make your choices sure. Make your choices count. You get, and I know not every choice is not an hour, but let's say they are for the purpose of this conversation. You have 24 choices to make in a day. Okay. How are you going to spend them? Who are you going to spend them with? Right. How are they going to make you feel? And so reevaluate them. I think you have 24 times a day to evaluate and 24 times a day to reevaluate. So if you go by that logic, and if you break it down, look at it as utility. Look at each hour as a util, as a unit, and find ways. Look at every day as a new experience, as a new everything. And I think that's one thing, that we can all do is, especially if it's a weekend and you have a few hours, just spend some time with yourself, go, I mean, this is kind of goofy, but I mean, I'll go, like, seriously, I'll go for a walk at night, after dinner, 6, 7, I'll just like walk. Or if it's the afternoon, awesome. If it's the weekend in the afternoon, just seriously, evaluate and then reevaluate, you're never, there's always people that have either done it or are in a similar situation. So, if you don't believe it, go to Twitter or go to Google and type it in what you're thinking, and someone's thought of it. Like, seriously, like this is, we're all in this together. So, don't ever be discouraged if that's your thing. If that's what's happening. I understand there are times when things can be discouraging. I'm very aware of that. I've been very discouraged throughout my life, but ultimately life is choices. And I think every day you get a chance. One of my favorite authors, Mark Sisson, if you get a chance, one of the coolest like life hack books I love, it's called The Primal Connection. I love it so much. He's like in his 60s, but he plays like a 13-year-old every day, like with his kids and stuff. Like, it's hilarious. They play like Frisbee and whatnot, he talks about, every day is a chance. In a nutshell, the thesis of that book was like, you're only, as good as your last at bat or your last, whatever. Like, whether if it's a business meeting, you're only as good as your last business meeting. If it's a class in college or high school, you're only as good as your last result on that test. Like, don't, just think of it in that terms. Just don't overreact, and keep making your better choices if you didn't like the result.
Yeah, I want to touch up on that. About, you're saying we are the last meeting that we went to, and I feel like that's not the mentality of school right now, of education. It's more like you fail at something. Let's say you get an F in a class. That F is
Uh-huh.
with you for entire life, and I feel like that's so silly, right?
Yeah.
Someone's like trying to hire you, and it's just like, oh, what is this one F you got 10 years ago? And it's just like, oh man, it's just like I feel bad about it, but I feel like your approach is a lot better, right? You should be improving based off your last thing that you did, right? And then you could show people that. So you look at a resume of someone and they say 10 years ago you got an F, what happened? You say I just didn't know how to do school and now I have A's. You should look at that. You should look at how I improved with my life. So I I don't know. I kind of feel bad about that. So do you feel the same way?
I don't know if you should feel bad, man. I think that you, I mean, obviously be aware of it,
Right.
which you're definitely doing. But yeah, it's kind of silly,
Yeah.
because yeah, the school system and just the work environment, the American work environment, the American school system. I mean, it's like that. Like I said, it's the only
Yeah.
one I've experienced, but but if you talk to enough people, you'll realize the folly in the ways,
Right.
of that kind of thinking. So I don't know if you should be disappointed. I mean, I think
For
again, we all
sure.
have different platforms, different vehicles. I mean, we can do our best to try to to upgrade. I mean, I think it's Jason Silva. He's a great YouTuber. He calls it, we got to find ways to upgrade our culture. So you just
Okay.
criticize our culture, right?
Right.
And he's giving you the challenge of upgrading it. So like, I
Mm-hmm.
agree with you. So this is not a slight to you. I actually think you're right. Like, I think it's nuts the way that we beat ourselves down. But
Right.
I really do believe, man, it's our job to upgrade that culture, that
Okay.
a culture of self defeat, of negative talk. I
Right.
really do believe that's one of many things that we can do while we're here. So I think it's a noble challenge, and I think I embrace it, and I think that's something you can do if you're down to, you can try to make little changes to the culture, upgrades.
Yeah, I'm actually curious about that. How do you think we should go about changing our culture? Because there's a lot of how do we go about this? There's a lot of things that can catch on. Like if you, I don't know if you keep up with Twitter, with memes, as we say in America, but I feel like there's a lot of things that catch on the internet, and then people just copy it, right? You say something, and then other people say it, and now it's like a cool thing to say, and it's very similar in terms of like in terms of fashion, in terms of ideology, in terms of slangs that people use. I feel like things can catch on, but then how do you go about changing a culture in general? Because I feel like people say you should go vote for a president, and that's how you change your culture. And I feel like I don't think that's the best way to do it. I feel like there's other ways you can go about creating a new type of environment that you're setting about for other people if you just don't enjoy what's going on around you. But how would you start about going doing that?
Well, yeah, that's one thing that I kind of struggle with. I used to never really get the whole like go vote to change this. I mean, I'm with you, but I think
Yeah.
my views on that have changed a lot in these last few
Okay.
months. I'm not gonna get overly political,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think that there's a lot of things I don't know. So it took a little, reading on my part. I've learned a lot about kind of the current political system. But then another thing I want to talk about is, and this is just something that I've kind of, like I said, I like to read a lot of these business guys, Anthony Robbins, Tim Ferriss, Gary Vaynerchuk. One thing I've learned from all of them, man, is if you want to be like completely in tune to real change, you look at the one political party that's always won in, at least in this country, and that's, that's money, that's business, that's like dollars. So, fundraise, create businesses, create new businesses, support existing businesses, a partner with other businesses, like go outside the political spectrum, since you brought that up,
Hmm.
and start looking at like other alternative foundations, and whether it's charitable organization, profit, nonprofit, like look at ways outside of what people tell you when you're a kid to do. Like look at outside ways. Also, another one is actual. When you talk about changing cultures, art.
Yeah.
I remember one of my favorite authors. He has a great podcast. He was talking about how he thought about being a politician when he was like in elementary, middle, and high school, and then he graduated high school, got to college, and he was like, "Holy crap! I'm not gonna change anything in the political spectrum." So he became an awesome writer, and I think that he's done more in his couple 2-3 books he's released than any campaign he could have run, because those can have long-standing impacts if they're disseminated properly and they're marketed and advertised properly, and enough people have them in their hands and in their minds, the what you're trying to spread. So I think through art, literature, culture, business, companies, I think there's a bunch of ways we got to be a little more creative than vote this guy or that guy, but still also respect that that's the current system. That's still what's going on. So be aware of everything. Never stop educating yourself. Never stop learning. One of my favorite sayings is "living is learning." So don't stop learning, but also look at some alternative ways to make a real tangible change if you think you can.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Something I wanna add is education, or just life after college, because I feel like I'm gonna be at that point pretty soon, and I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are kind of stuck, like in the waters. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of people out there that believe, okay, you need to get a degree. Once you get a degree, then you get a job, and then once you do that, you're set, you're golden. And I feel like that's the ultimate mentality to get stuck somewhere and you're not going to improve on your life, because they feel like, oh, I've gone through college, so I know everything, I've educated myself enough, and I don't need to learn anymore. And I never want to be at that point in my life. And I feel like I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to make sure you're always growing, always learning, always improving, instead of stagnating at some point, especially after you're done with college.
Oh man, gosh, there's literally a different answer for a different person, but
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I think ultimately it comes down to just purpose, like what you think you can do. And I know we're in our early 20s, like
Yeah, we are.
so what I'm about to say is ridiculous, but I think that for me what's helped is study people like the Warren Buffett, people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s.
Yeah.
Study people that have passed. Look at like what like tangible, real change you have seen and studied from start of their life to the end of their life. See that it's possible, and then build that blueprint. Gary Vaynerchuk, the author I was telling you about, he calls it reverse engineering, and I love this term. I think that's where real purpose can be found. Is in that reverse engineering. Find out where you want to go, find out what you have to do to get there, and then get there. And then it's literally as simple as that. So I know when I say simple, I just oversimplified it. I'm aware of that, but I think you get the essence. Like
dude.
You you find that by seeing that it's not only possible, but it's very possible. Very practical, and it's never been more practical. We've never had more information and access to information, which is actually more important than information, I think, sometimes, because it's literally it's all around us. So find your why, I guess.
Okay. All right. I wanna close it off now, and I feel like I learned a lot, and I feel like there's just so much I need to do. And I feel like doing these podcasts are really awesome because it helps you reorganize your thoughts and assess your situation. And that's what I really like about it. I hope it does the same for you as well, Sab.
Absolutely, man. Hey, I really, really appreciate this. Thank you so much for having me on. This is actually my first podcast that I've been on, so I really, really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. I do want to close it off, though, with one more discussion, because I'm gonna look at this 10 years from now and see how much I've improved, like from those 10 years, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Because I'm trying to make these episodes, and then later on, I'm gonna remaster essentially these episodes and see like how I improved from, like way back then. So I want to know from your side too, where do you imagine yourself 10 years from now, so that maybe if you listen to this 10 years from now, you can see like if you're off or something of that sort.
Sure, sure. So, um, yeah, I don't know how accurate this is going to be, but ideally in 10 years, I'll kind of keep doing what I'm doing as far as like my field of work. But
Okay.
as far as reach of work, I just want to, um, you know, learn more every day. I want to help more people every day. I want every day to be better than the last day. I want to create platforms or at least help be part of platforms that help people realize that the why is more important than the what or the how. Those two are very important, but the thing that will keep this exciting and fun and riveting is the why. So, discover my why more and help people along the way if they're having trouble and questioning what their why is. Cause like you said, a lot of college kids, high school kids, me in the very, very, very near past have, and I think we can work on that together. I think it's a great project we can tackle on and talk about, and it'll be fun and engaging along the way. So that's my 10-year plan.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Sad, for coming again. Um, this is it for now. So thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys learned something new from this. Thank you guys. Hey guys, hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I had a really fun time doing it, and I really loved talking to Sab. I for sure can't wait to see 10 years from now what Sab is going to be like and what I'm going to be like, and try to listen back to these old episodes and see how far we've improved and gone from 10 years ago. But now, what I want to do here and for future episodes is I want to do an update of my life. And I feel like this is really important because it will help me stay on track of making sure I pull out an episode at least every 2 weeks. And it helps you guys, you the audience, connect with me more. Now, for today's update, I want to let you guys know for the past 2 weeks, I've been doing well with school. I've been doing well with my job, which is tutoring other people, and it's going really well so far. It's around the end of the semester. Right now it's December the 3rd of 2016, and finals are about to happen. And this is when we're rounding up everything, trying to close everything together, and the break is about to happen, Christmas break. And I want to make sure that for next year, I'm prepping and I'm making sure that I keep on track of everything I want to do. I want to make sure I do my morning routines, make sure I do my podcast, make sure I do school. I'm not going to do any jobs right next semester, but I want to make sure that I'm keeping on track of the things I want to do, because there's going to be a lot of things I do, and I need to make sure I keep them in balance. What else? I've learned so far that I just need to stop worrying and overthinking and just be fortunate about what I have in my life. I'm very fortunate that I get to have a college experience debt free. I'm so thankful uh, that my family gets to pay for my college tuition and I don't have to worry about it. There's a lot of students out there that have to worry about that, so they do 2 jobs every day plus go to school just to maintain a lifestyle of going to college. And I don't have to do that. So I feel like I felt obligated to make sure I don't waste my time. But then when I was worrying about wasting my time, I ended up wasting my time anyways because I ended up not doing anything. So what I really want to do from that experience is I just want to enjoy everything I do and make sure that it helps not only me, but everyone around me in the future. And if I just go and follow my heart with that and make sure I don't judge myself as much, I know that I'll understand there's certain things that are just not necessary and they're just there just as a stress releaser. And there's other things I want to do that'll help me improve my future. And I'm learning how to distinguish the two now. At first, it didn't make any sense because it's like, oh, I got to do this or that and just make all these ultimatums. But now I end up being able to say, okay, this is what I want to do with my life. It's going to take some time to get good at all these things. But once I do, it's going to be beautiful. I'm envisioning my lifestyle 10 years from now. And I just got to work on these tiny pieces, work on them bit by bit. And once I do that, then I'll fully understand my life as a whole and just grow from there. So that's what I've taken for these past 2 weeks. And for the next 2 weeks, I want to make sure that I have everything planned out in terms of what I need to work on to prep for the next semester, for the next school semester. So that's what's happening with me so far. Thank you guys for listening to these episodes, by the way. I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have an awesome life. Talk to you guys in 2 weeks. See you guys.